Hey guys, how are things going? I am finally back from a holiday. The holiday being LA, California, which I was there for a week. And it's been a long time since I've uploaded anything to my channel. Obviously, that being because of the holiday, but also because my holiday was so incredible that I needed to take a little bit of a break when I got back. But now that I've had a good break, I'm ready to get back into things. And the first thing I'm going to do is tell you guys about how my holiday went. I mean, it's a big deal for me. It was my first time ever leaving Australia, my first time going overseas. So LA seems to be the perfect place to go on my first holiday. I've been meaning to go for a while, and this was, well, there were some good reasons that came up for me. So me and my dad, because he did go on this holiday with me. I suppose it was a good way to celebrate his 50th birthday a bit early, given that his birthday is on June 28th. So it was an early celebration, but it was a good one. Definitely, probably, I would say the highlight of 2022 for me, at least. I decided not to wear my glasses today. I don't like the way the lighting reflects off my glasses. I know I could probably fix that pretty easily, but I could also just not wear my glasses, so I'm going to do that. The first thing to talk about would obviously be the flights. So on the flight on the way there, it took us about an hour, but we had to stop off in Sydney first, and then from there we actually made our way, completed the rest of the trip on the way to LA, which was 13 hours, so it was like 14 hours in total. So it's a pretty long time to be on an airplane. The longest time I've ever been on an airplane anyway. And it was kind of fun in its own weird way. It's kind of like camping in the air. It's aerial camping. Honestly, spent a lot of the time sleeping, as you do when you're in one place with not much to do. But I did pack some things on my carry-on luggage just for a bit of entertainment, like my Nintendo DS. I played a little bit of video games, which was nice. It's a good way to pass the time. And they do obviously provide some onboard entertainment as well. Like you get a little screen on the back of the chair in front of you, and you can use that with your own headset and watch movies and stuff if you like. Luckily, the flight heading home was one way. Well, no stop-offs. We didn't stop off at Sydney this time. So it was just a full 14 hours from LA to Melbourne. And yeah, I needed a bit of time out after getting back. When we finally arrived in LA, it was still pretty early in the morning, and the weather was actually really nice for the majority of the time that I was in LA. So here's a little picture of how the weather was while I was on holiday. So it was nice and sunny. A little too sunny, actually. Got burnt a little bit on some of those days, but that's okay. The weather is similar to that of here in Australia, actually, so it kind of feels like home. It's hot and dry. Perfect weather. So before we left the airport to go to the hotel, we had to go to the currency exchange to hand over our Australian money for the American money, and it was my first time handling American money. So I took a little photo or two of the front and the back, and this is what they look like. So this is the front, or you know, who's to tell what's the front and the back really. And this is the other side. So yay, money. I actually kept a few dollars from the trip. This is a little souvenir. And yeah, obviously Australian money is kind of made of a different material. It's like kind of like plastic, so you can't really, it's not as easy to tear, and it comes in all different colors. But American money is all green, and it's literally made of paper, so you could damage it more easily, I suppose, but it's whatever. Keep it out of harm's way and it won't get damaged, I guess. So we left the airport and we started to make our way to the Lowe's Hollywood Hotel. Pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. I didn't take any photos of the hotel itself, but here's a picture I found on the internet. Yay, that's the hotel that we stayed at. And I don't believe we caught any taxis, but we did catch an Uber all around LA. Well, not all around LA, but around the vicinity of where we were staying at the hotel, because we need to get around, and that seems to be the most popular transportation, which is the same here in Australia. We use Ubers a lot, so there's not much of a difference there. And the thing is, like, there's actually not much of a distance between the airport and the hotel, but just because of the traffic that you get in LA, Uber fares would be a bit more expensive. When it came to doing fun activities, we tried to stay local around the hotel just so that we wouldn't have to spend too much on transportation, and try to save our money where we can. But that's okay, because there was a lot of attractions local to where we were staying, so that's pretty good. Now it's funny, because of my Australian accent, in America there were some instances where they actually couldn't tell what my accent was. They thought I was from the UK or London, as I think one of them said, and I had to politely correct them and say that I'm Australian. So I suppose British and Australian might sound a little similar over there to them. Which it does. They're not wrong. It does sound pretty similar. Unless you are British or Australian, then you can tell the difference a bit more. So the hotel was quite nice. Funny enough, I think I actually forgot to take photos of the hotel room itself, which doesn't really matter too much. But here is a lovely view from outside the window of the hotel room that we were staying in. No balcony, which my dad wasn't too pleased about because he is a smoker, but it was still really nice to take a look out the window and just kind of enjoy the sights. One of the best highlights of the hotel was the pool, which I went to a couple of times. I needed to make sure that I didn't get sunburn though. I mean, I did get sunburn on the trip, but not so much at the pool. It was when I was going out to some of the outdoor activities in LA, like Universal Studios. That's where I got the most burn, but I had a lot of fun there, so that's okay. So I took some pics and stuff of the pool. I just thought it looked really nice and felt the need to share it. I actually didn't pack a bikini. I didn't pack barely any clothes at all, to be honest, for this trip, because I was specifically leaving my luggage nice and empty so that I could do some shopping while I was in LA and still have enough room in my pack to take it back home. That's pretty smart. I was planning on getting a whole bunch of new clothes while I was in LA anyway, and I did. I got a whole bunch of new clothes. It was really nice, including a bikini to wear at the pool. I did some of my basic style clothes shopping just at Target, because we also have a Target here in Australia, so it's kind of familiar. But there were some specialised stores that I went to, well, really just one, to get some of more alternative style clothing, I guess. I've forgotten the name of the place that I went to, but here's the name right here. So that's where I went to get some pretty awesome looking clothing. So that's kind of like another little souvenir to take back. So some of the clothes I got from Target, I just got some basic clothes, but there were some shirts. There was a section where they had some tops, some design tops, and I decided to pick a couple of those. So I got myself a Care Bears one, and I got myself a Dragon Ball Z one. Yay! Here's a picture of me wearing a Dragon Ball Z shirt out the front of the hotel room. I used to be totally into Dragon Ball Z. I mean, I still am. When I was a kid, I had a crush on Gohan. Very silly, but it's true. So I've got a lot that I want to talk about today, but unfortunately I don't think I have enough time to talk about everything. So I'll summarize almost everything in this video, with a few exceptions, including some of the major activities that I did while I was in LA. So in the upcoming videos, you can expect me to delve more into things like the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum. That was really good. Universal Studios, and of course Santa Monica Beach was really nice, and also the Crank Gameplays show. So I'll be talking about those things in another video. But in this video, I want to talk about, I want to reflect more on what it's like in LA itself. So eventually, after settling in at the hotel, we decided to take a bit of a walk and actually see what the city streets of LA are really like. And by this time, it was starting to get around the late afternoon to the evening. One thing about LA is I noticed that homelessness in particular is pretty prevalent. I mean, we have homelessness. You have it anywhere. We have it here in Australia, but it's pretty noticeable in LA. One thing is that there would be people trying to sell things on the street. In particular, there was this one guy, we were walking along, and he kind of just hands out with his arm extended this CD, and I thought it was just a free giveaway, and just to be polite, I thought I'd take it from him just to, well, I didn't have any intentions on listening to it, but I just thought I would be polite and take it and move on. But he wanted money for it, and so I thought, well, I'm not even going to listen to this CD. Like, no offense, I don't even listen to CDs in general, so I can't think of why I would listen to the CD of a guy that I just met and I don't really know who he is. So I don't really have much incentive to listen to his music. But anyway, he wanted he wanted some money for it, and I thought, well, that's fair enough. He's just trying to make a living. So I gave him $1, and I thought, well, it's a free dollar. I mean, it's his product, but I'm not going to use it. I'm sorry, man. But apparently the $1 wasn't enough because he wanted more money, and I was a bit taken back by this. So I thought it was a little bit rude, but maybe it's because it's not much of a thing where I come from, so I'm not used to it at this point, because he's trying to haggle more money out of me, actually. I shouldn't be laughing at this, but I actually tried to give him back his CD just so I could continue and be on my way and stop being harassed for money when I'm just trying to mind my own business. And then my dad piped up and gave him a little bit more money, so he was like, all right, well, that's that, I suppose. But I never did listen to that CD. Sorry, dude. I just couldn't really justify paying money for a product, basically, that I'm not going to use. It just doesn't make sense to me, but I understand that he was just trying to make a living. But at least that guy was harmless. He was just trying to haggle for a bit of money. There were times when I would see some people on the street and they would just be completely talking to themselves out loud and kind of having a bit of a fit. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep far away from that. And there were a few times when, I encountered people like that, which is pretty normal. I was walking out of the hotel with my dad, going for a bit of a walk somewhere, and my dad was off in front of me. And as I was walking along, I was walking past these bushes, and this guy, this wild, crazy hairy man, jumps out of the bushes in front of me on fours and kind of just stares at me with this crazy look in his eyes, and it scared me. I doubled back and went for a bit of a walk back to the hotel, and the security guard kind of just reassured me by walking me past the guy from the bushes. And obviously the guy was harmless, or, potentially harmless. What do I know? I don't know the guy. But he startled me and he gave me a fright. Crazy wild man appeared from the bushes, but I managed to escape. So a really important mention when talking about America in general is to talk about the food in the restaurants, because, boy, Americans love food. And don't we all? We all love food. Who doesn't like to eat? But there's so much variety in LA of different places where you can go to eat and different foods to try. It's just literally everywhere. And there's so much diversity. So there was plenty of things for us to try while we were there, which is good news if you like to eat. We all do. Feeling kind of hungry now, actually, to be honest. The first place we went to was Ramen restaurant, which is my favourite food. So we had ramen for dinner on the first night that we were there. Here's a little pic of what I had. It was pretty good. And also they have lots of street food. So we went to some street vendors and we had some hot dogs, which was really nice. I think we had those hot dogs on more than one occasion. Also, some other street foods they had were, aside from hot dogs, they also have a lot of Mexican food like tacos and burritos, and also pizza. Good stuff. But I think the place that I ate the most was at Macca's, or as the Americans call it, McDonald's, which is really what it's called. Australians just like to turn everything into slang if we can. Shorten as many words as possible. If I had to make a comparison between Australian Macca's and American Macca's, I'm pretty sure that American Macca's actually does taste a bit better. And they do have larger size meals, as I originally thought. They definitely have bigger drinks, let me tell you that. They have bigger drinks. And with the meals, I definitely really like their breakfast menu, because their bacon and egg McMuffins are actually like pretty decent size. Here in Australia, a bacon egg McMuffin is it's kind of flat and it's a bit lopsided. You kind of say that about the burgers as well. Like, you probably get that everywhere where they don't put 100% of the effort into the food that they make, but I think proportion-wise, Americans have got it a bit bigger. And their ice cream is really good as well. It's thicker and creamier. They probably put something else in it that I don't know, but whatever, it tastes good. It's working. Oh, and we went to Popeyes Chicken. So here's some pictures / videos that we took about Popeyes Chicken. It was alright. The chicken honestly was a bit dry and crumbly, but it was still pretty good. I mean, I still think KFC is better, but I didn't get to try KFC while I was in America, so that was one of the things I didn't get to try alongside Burger King. I didn't get to try Burger King either, but here's a picture There it is. And Wendy's. Wendy's was actually really good. I'd love to go to Wendy's again. This is what I got. I don't remember the name of the meal, but it's basically a chicken burger just with, you know, chips and a drink. Oh, but sorry, over there they don't call them burgers. They call them chicken sandwiches for some reason. Even though it's clearly a burger and it doesn't look anything like a sandwich, but that's fine. We can call it a sandwich. We can call it a chicken sandwich, even though it's a burger. The meal I had was really good and I want to have it again. But unfortunately, Wendy's doesn't exist here in Australia. Well, we do have a Wendy's, but it's a completely different thing. They sell hot dogs and shakes and ice cream. Oh, another place that was really good actually is IHOP, which I learned stands for International House of Pancakes. They do the best breakfast there. It was really, really good. I don't remember the name of the thing that I got, but here's a picture of it here and it was delicious. 10 out of 10. Oh, and another thing that I like about IHOP actually is the location, because near the IHOP that we went to, kind of like a little park area, and it's got trees and even some wildlife. So we saw some squirrels. I get very excited when I see wildlife because I love animals. We don't have any squirrels here in Australia, so of course that's a part of the reason why I got excited, because it's my first time seeing a squirrel. And we took some footage of the squirrels, so here's some videos. Yay, squirrels! But there wasn't really a great deal of wildlife. I mean, apart from the squirrels, it was just basically a bunch of birds that I saw. Got some fun footage of seagulls. There's something. While I was down at Santa Monica Beach, there are just pigeons and seagulls everywhere. It's like Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, or Birdemic. They're just everywhere. They fill the skies. And I thought it would be fun to stand out in the open and hold out some little chips in the air, some hot chippies, and watch the seagulls come down and swoop them out of my hand without pecking my fingers off, even though one of them did give me a good bite. And I managed to get some footage of that as well. So here's some footage of me feeding some seagulls. So before we visited any of the major attractions in LA, one of the first things we did was basically look around at some of the more local and low-key places. So we went to the Chinese theatre and we saw the latest Doctor Strange movie, so that was really nice. Some popcorn and a drink. It was really nice. I'd love to go to the movies again soon. I want to see the new Jurassic World movie. Dominion, I think? Yeah, I have to see that. It comes out really soon in a few days. So that was one of the first things that we did. And one of the last things that we did, they actually had an escape hotel near our hotel within walking distance. So pretty much a hotel dedicated to escape room puzzles. And we only did one, but we did the daycare one. We nearly got through. We nearly finished the whole thing. There was just one little thing that we couldn't find right at the very end, so we just failed. For real life, we would have been dead. Oh wait, it was real life. But we're still alive. Still would have liked to win though. And here's the escape hotel right here. Pretty spooky. That was on the last day before we went home. So I won't address any of the major attractions in this video, such as Ripley's Believe It or Not, Universal Studios, Crane Gameplays, or Santa Monica Beach, even though I did talk about Santa Monica Beach a little bit. I'll let you guys know how that went in future videos because I got a lot of good footage for those events and I need to show you. The footage I took. So I was like, we can share the experience. There is one thing I need to address, and that is drugs. Now, this is a pretty big deal because over in California, the drug laws are obviously very different over there than they are over here in Australia. Here in Australia, drugs are illegal, pretty much all drugs, including weed. So you can't buy it, you can't use it, you can't do shit. And it's definitely not advertised on public television. Over in America, specifically California, i.e. LA, things are very different. Not only do they literally have drug vendors on the street openly just selling any kind of drug related paraphernalia you can think of, and everyone just kind of it does it in public at their own discretion, and it's perfectly legal. And the streets of LA stink of weed. They stink of weed. LA stinks of weed. It's true. It needs to be addressed. It's not. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or anything. It's just a fact of. It's an observation that I picked up on while I was over there. So yeah, very, very different world over there, and I think it's just it's much more noticeable because coming from someone who lives somewhere where the laws are very different. And television, let me tell you this, we had a television in our hotel room. Obviously, I'd say most hotel rooms probably have a television, and the television shows and movies and all that sort of stuff is pretty standard. We have pretty much the same stuff here in Australia, but the advertisements are very different. Back on the track of drugs, public television, for some reason in America, they love to advertise drugs. Any kind of drug you can think of. It's like, oh, you have this kind of symptom? Well, take this drug and it will fix that symptom. But here is a long list of all of the side effects that you may experience if you take this drug. And the list of side effects is just completely ridiculous and really more or less defeats the purpose of taking the drug in the first place. It's like, oh, you can fix this one symptom of this thing that you're having problems with, but you might get cancer or your eyeballs will fall out or you'll spontaneously combust. It's like, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but at the same time, that's how it is. The ad would, they'd advertise the drug, and then at the very end they would have, you know, a narrator with a really fast voice kind of outlining all of the symptoms that are side effects that you can possibly experience as a result of taking the drug. And it's just terrible things. You may experience diarrhea, dizziness, vomiting, parasites bursting out of your stomach. It's pretty crazy. Like, we do advertise some medical drugs here in Australia, like just pain relief medication for headaches or creams for rashes and stuff like that, but they don't normally have a long list of side effects at the end to frighten the pants off of people. So I don't know, maybe that's just coming from someone who lives in Australia, but it was just it became pretty funny after a while. Whenever a commercial would come up advertising some kind of pharmaceutical drug, you would be waiting for the very end of the video to see what kind of side effects are included in the list for that particular drug, and sometimes they can be pretty hilarious. No actual spontaneous combustion, but I wouldn't be surprised if they mentioned it. So that's pretty much it. Join me for my next video. I'll delve into my experience at Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum, because even though it's a fairly inexpensive way to spend your time in LA, I found it very entertaining and I had a lot of fun while I was there. So it's what you make of it. And I took a bit of footage. So in the next video, you can see how that went for me. And then in the video after that, I'll likely talk about Universal Studios, which was even more fun than the museum. And then in the video after that, I will be talking about the Crank Gameplay show, because if I can be honest, that was probably the highlight of my trip. So I will save that till last. And that will also be my closing video, where I talk a little bit about Santa Monica Beach, because that was one of the last things I did before I went home as well. And you have to talk about the beach. After that, it's that's pretty much it, and it's back to my normal Let's Play videos again. But there's so much more I have planned for the near future that deviates a little bit away from Let's Plays. I have a lot more planned for the future in regards to content for my channel. I've got a whole bunch of ideas I want to try out. Different things I want to do, different things I want to make, and I've got a lot of ideas, but that'll be for a different video. So join me next time and we'll talk about the main attractions in LA. It'll be a lot of fun. Alright, see you later.
I just gotta be making the most of this thing while I can. This can all be over in a flash.